Hey guys. Look what I got here. I decided to let Mini Heck join us for BJJ Strength Secrets. Isn't this cool? My wife made this for me. I got this, well, she had it made for me for Christmas. I got this as a Christmas gift. This Christmas, I think, will be 4 years ago that she got this for me. Isn't that pretty cool? I remember when I first opened this, I was like, what the heck is this? Why'd she get me a bobblehead? Like, I've never owned a bobblehead in my entire life. And so I opened up my gift, and I was like, why did she get me a bobblehead? And then the more I kept looking at it, I was like, oh wow, that's me. So it's me. I'm the bobblehead. Isn't that cool? Got the jiu-jitsu belt and everything with a white gi, just like it's supposed to be. Pretty cool, right? So, all right, I'll get him out of the way. I'll have him overlook our BJJ Strength Secrets episodes every week. All right, guys. So, let me position this thing better here. All right. BJJ Strength Secrets, episode 36. So, what I'm going to be talking about today is last week we talked about the Getup, and we're going to be diving into the Getup pretty extensively over the course of the next several weeks. The Getup is probably the, like I mentioned, the one exercise. If you had to pick one, if you're stuck on a desert island and you have to pick one exercise, what would it be? It would be the Getup, because the Getup can challenge you both left and right sides. We can use it as a movement assessment, but we can also, if we program it a specific way, we can use it as a conditioning exercise, or we can use it as more of a therapeutic and restorative exercise. So you can really program it however you want. But we're going to be talking about how the Getup has a lot of carryover to jiu-jitsu, and how you can use just the Getup if you're short on time and short on training space, how we can use just the Getup to get you stronger and more conditioned for BJJ. That's the end goal, right? As jiu-jitsu practitioners, and our goal is to get better at jiu-jitsu every day, right? But also to get stronger and to move better. Because at the end of the day, the stronger we are, the less energy it takes for us to train, for us to roll. Okay? So the stronger we become, think of it like a V8 engine or something like that. Now imagine a 4-cylinder engine compared to a V8, okay? That's gonna be our work capacity, our base, our furnace, so to speak. For a 4-cylinder, in order to get that puppy cranking to move, you really gotta hit the accelerator, right? You gotta push the accelerator all the way down to get that thing to rev up to go. But now a V8, you really don't. You have to very gently touch the pedal. You've got a much bigger engine that is so powerful that it doesn't take a whole lot of effort behind the pedal, behind the accelerator, to get that thing moving, right? And then if you need to access that power, it's there, okay? But it doesn't mean that you gun it every single time, okay? So that's pretty much how jiu-jitsu is. We use our strength sparingly. We don't use nothing but strength, but we want to make sure that we have a good foundation of strength, okay? So the stronger we become for jiu-jitsu, the stronger that we become, the more rounds we can do, the bigger our opponents we can roll with without having to worry about cutting weight to, I'm going to cut down to this amount of weight so I can roll with this person. That's not why jiu-jitsu was created. Jiu-jitsu was created to be able to roll with pretty much anybody. You shouldn't be afraid of rolling with someone that's, 20 pounds, 10, 20 pounds heavier than you. You should have, that's where the skill of jiu-jitsu comes into play, but then also strength, okay? So if you're stronger, you can roll with bigger opponents with no problem. And if you're rolling with the same weighted opponents, it doesn't take a whole lot of energy to move them around, okay? So always keep in mind, the stronger, you have two BJJ athletes, the stronger, equally skilled, the stronger athlete will always win, okay? Equally skilled, the stronger athlete will always win. So, With that said, we're going to be continuing with the get up, and we're going to be working on one specific aspect. So we worked from the roll to the elbow, and how I talked about last week how that initial roll is it's a roll, it's not a crunch, right? And we talked a lot about movement patterns last week, and how, you know, in jiu-jitsu, and the same thing in jiu-jitsu, we're doing a lot. We're rolling, we're hinging, we're squatting, we're reaching. We're in primitive patterns, and the get up kind of hits all those areas. So we're going to cover, I want to focus on three concepts of getting stronger for BJJ, but this is pretty much this will cover anything. Just to get stronger in general, follow these three core concepts, okay? These three rules, if you would, you know, so to speak, is move well. You have to make sure that you move really well first. Okay, if your mobility, if health is not an issue, okay, if that's not an issue, then strength should always be your priority. Okay, getting stronger should always be your priority. Instead, you know, not getting more flexible, not improving your conditioning or your cardio, that is not priority. If you don't have any movement issues, strength is always priority. So number one is move well. Okay, you got to make sure that you move really well, right? The better we move, right, the more mobility we have, the less likely we are to be injured. And two, we're gonna move much better and get into much better positions for jiu-jitsu, right? Next rule is, now that you move well, you need to make sure that you can move really strong. And then once you move really strong, you need to move more, get even stronger. Okay, so move well is number one. Move strong is our second rule. And then our third rule is you only load a movement pattern that you want to reinforce, okay? So that ties into number one. If you don't move very well, if you've got really tight shoulders or you've got tight hips, you shouldn't be loading those. An example, let's say you've got really tight hips. Doing things like squats and deadlifts can be problematic down the road, okay? Even though those drills can get you stronger, you just don't move very well in the beginning. So we got to work on opening up your hips and getting you to move better. Once we get you to move better, then we can start getting you to move stronger by loading you, okay? Things like squats, deadlifts, and then eventually the get up, okay? So always, you know, I always recommend people to go through things body weight first. Once you can master your body weight and you can move really well body weight, and then you can start to load your body externally with either by using a training partner or by using, obviously we're talking about kettlebells, even barbells, and body weight, okay? So just keep that in mind. If I see somebody, or if you see me loading a movement pattern would be, a press, a squat, a deadlift, any of those 7 primal movements, okay? If you see me loading those, I am telling you basically that I like that movement pattern and therefore I'm going to reinforce it. If you don't move well and you start to load your body with external weight, you're basically reinforcing bad movement patterns. So movement, the way that we move, movement is a behavior, just like a child, right? Imagine a child. I've got a 19-month-old. My son is 19 months. Okay, my daughter's 6. Movement is a behavior, just like a child's behavior. If they start to misbehave and we don't correct that behavior, it will get worse and worse and worse. And by the time we try to correct it, it's almost too late, right? So imagine if you don't discipline your child, okay, and you don't, just let her do whatever. Like, yeah, right. No. If you don't discipline your child their whole life, and then when they're 16, then you try to start disciplining them, it's too late. You've reinforced their bad behavior for 16 years. This is why you see a lot of problems with parents and kids, okay? That's a whole nother discussion, but just that's an example. Well, our movement is the same thing. If we move very poorly, if we're always slouching, if we're sitting in a chair, and we get that a lot now as in our society, as we slouch a lot, our shoulders round forward, right? Because we sit a lot, or we're on the computer because of work. that's a bad movement pattern. And if we don't know how to get out of that movement pattern and kind of reset everything, then we go and we try to work out, and we try to do jiu-jitsu, we're reinforcing those bad movements. Does that make sense? We're reinforcing those bad movements, and therefore we're going to continue to move bad, and that's what leads, eventually that will lead to an injury. It may not be a week from now, it may not be a month from now, it may not even be a year from now, but you will develop some, traumatic or some kind of musculoskeletal problem down the road. So we want to make sure that we're only loading movement patterns that we like, okay? So if we got a really good hip hinge, if we squat really well, if we've got really good shoulder mobility, then we can start to load those with pressing and snatching and doing deadlifts and doing swings and even doing get-ups, okay? If you've got, thoracic, mobility problems, or you got hip problems, doing the get up with the kettlebell is not going to help you because you're loading patterns that aren't moving very well. So you got to go through some body weight stuff. So those are 3 rules that I always stick to when I train. And the get up is a great way, like I mentioned, an assessment tool to see, are you moving well today? So when you go through the get up, here, I'm going to show you an example. Let me see if I can give you a good view here. So let's say, I want to see, like I can use the get up to see if I move well. So let's say I can't open my leg up like this. Let's say my hips are tight that way. Or when I roll to the elbow, like I'm kind of like tight here in the thoracic area, and I can't extend here through my chest. If I feel this like tightness, that's giving me some feedback that I'm really not moving really well at that moment. So if I can't correct that by going through some get-ups or going through some arm bars or going through some body weight stuff, if I can't clean that up, I try not to do any kind of overhead work. No pressing or anything like that. Okay, no pull-ups. But if I move really well, and I'll use the get-up as an assessment tool, then I'm clear. I'm good to go, right? Then I now move on to moving strong. Then I start to load and externally load my body. Now I can start loading that pattern because I like it. I like the way that pattern's moving. So now I'm going to reinforce that good behavior. I hope all this is making sense. Okay. So one of the things we're going to focus on today. There's this one skill, one portion of the get up that if you master this and you move really well with it, and you like the way this pattern moves, and you like the way you're feeling, now we can start to load it with an external load with a kettlebell. And if you get really strong moving this way, okay, this is rule number 2. If you're moving really strong here, this is going to help you to have a really good back take for while you're training. Okay, so keep in mind, the Turkish Getup gets its origins from Turkish wrestlers that would use this. Okay, it was also an assessment tool. Before they would lift weights, they had to move a heavy weight, like 100-pound weight, over their head doing this move. But the Turkish wrestlers would use this exercise, what they call now the Turkish Getup, obviously. They would use this to help to maintain their strength, to move really strong, and to help with their wrestling. And as we know, jiu-jitsu's found, it's all based on grappling, so it all kind of ties together. Which is this what we're going to do now is we're going to focus on the high bridge. So the high bridge, believe it or not, is going to help you to get stronger if you're focusing on back take drills, or even when you start sparring and you're going to attack the back. So the high bridge is really going to help you to attack the back, and I'm gonna try to, the best I can, I'm gonna try to show you. We're gonna go through the high bridge, and then I'm gonna show you how it translates to doing drills, and how it translates to attacking the back. Okay. So the high bridge is just a continuation from that roll. Okay. So remember, we're not crunching. Okay. We're rolling up to the elbow here. Okay. Make sure that through this elbow, you're not slouching, and your shoulders not jamming up into your neck. Okay. We're not hanging out on the beach here. Push the floor away through the elbow. All right. Imagine you have a kettlebell here in this hand. This hand is lined up with this elbow straight here. Now this foot here, okay? There's two places where we can do a bridge. First place that I want you to do the bridge is from this elbow, like this. Just like this, okay? So I'm driving through this leg. There's a straight line from this elbow all the way to my top hand. That's the first place where I'm gonna want you to do a bridge, okay? If you can do that bridge there, okay, and you can maintain this without losing the integrity of the shoulder, okay, I would recommend doing, I don't know, maybe 5 bridges from the elbow on both sides, okay? Once you master the bridge from the elbow, you're now gonna come up to your palm like this, okay? So I'm gonna show you what I'm doing with my elbow here. My hand goes on the floor, and imagine like you're on the palm of your hand, imagine like you're crushing like a bug or you're crushing a grape. And you're going to crush and turn your hand out like this. So your finger should be pointing back that way. And notice my elbow. You see how my elbow turns this way? I don't want it that way. I want my elbow open like this. Not down, I want my elbow open. Okay? When I do that, look at my shoulder. If I do this way, it rounds my shoulder forward. But as soon as I do this, it kind of screws and locks my shoulder into place. Okay? 2, another reason why you want to turn the fingers back is because if I'm grappling with somebody and I'm sitting up and I'm trying to maybe go for the collar, or I'm trying to work my way back, okay, maybe I'm playing my sit-up guard or something like that, and I'm placing my hand here. If my fingers are turned this way, look at my elbow. It's hard to lock my elbow. So now I don't have that kickstand, I can lose my position and fall back down. 2, if we're actually doing this with a get-up, and imagine you have a 106-pound kettlebell over your head, do you feel confident with the 106-pound kettlebell here? No. You want to have your arm locked this way, that we've got a good lock base. So this is to the palm, okay? So this here is the elbow, from the elbow to the palm, and you're here in this position like so, all right? So from here, this is how from here, now we're gonna work the high bridge. Now you're gonna drive through this foot that's on the ground, you're gonna lift your hip like this, and you're gonna drive through here. So now we're making a connection from this down hand to my down foot that's underneath my hip here. All right? So I'm elevating, I'm lifting my hip, and I'm driving through here. That's the high bridge. So I recommend doing body weight, 5 of those high bridges on each side. Really focus on that. High bridge is going to help. For 1, it's going to improve the strength of the shoulder, and 2, it's going to start to open up this hip flexor on this side. So because we sit down a lot, we get a lot of hip flexor tightness in our hips. So when you're here and you do this bridge, you're driving through this glute, and that's helping you extend through the hip here. All right? So here, same exact thing. I'm extending through my hip, and I'm not extending through my back. So you don't want to extend through the back, you want to extend through the hip, okay? So here's how this little drill can translate to BJJ and taking your back. So let's say you go for the takedown, right? You go for the takedown and someone sprawls on you. They sprawl on you and you're now here. Well, now, if you look at this position that I'm in, I place my hand, I step my foot up, and now I bridge through. And I basically do the bridge from the elbow is what I'm doing. The bridge from the elbow. See here? Bang. They smash me down. I'm based on my elbow. I step through, and then I bridge through this way, and I'll take their back. Okay? And that all comes from mastering that bridge from that elbow. All right? So that's a drill we can do for BJJ just for drill sessions. But when you're working on your strength training and you're focusing on the get up, start with body weight from the elbow and work on mastering the bridge from the elbow, 5 on each side. Okay? 5 on each side, then 5 on each side from the palm. Once you like that movement pattern and you're feeling confident and you're getting strong in that position, now you can begin to load that with a kettlebell. If you decide to load this with a kettlebell, gentlemen, I recommend that you use anywhere from a 16 to a 24 kilo bell to get started. Ladies, anywhere from a 10 to a 16 kilo belt to get started. As you get stronger and as you move better with that external load, you can always venture into heavier kettlebells. But I recommend starting with those bell size ranges, with that range size of bells. So just to recap, from this elbow position here, I recommend you bridge from this position first, okay? Because ultimately this is going to be our back take right here. Bridge from this position first. Get really well at moving through here. Make sure you're opening the hip, stability of the shoulder. Imagine you have a kettlebell in your hand, and then you're going to work up to here. Elbow locked, shoulder is back, and you're going to work on bridging from this position. 5 on each side, okay? And then that translates into your back take. Okay, you're here, bang, you're already getting good. You've got strong shoulders. Your hips move really well. You step through, you bridge, and now you can attack their back, okay? So that's how that little drill, that part of the get up, you really focus on drilling that. And then you make sure that you move really well first with that drill. As you begin to move really well with that drill, now you can focus on moving stronger and moving even stronger. As you get stronger with the body weight, then you can start to load it, because now it's a good movement pattern. It's a pattern that you like. You feel really good, you're really confident. Now you can start loading it, starting with gentlemen anywhere from a 16 to a 24, ladies anywhere from a 10 to a 16. As you get competent with that, now you can look to move even stronger and go up if you like. So, that's all I got for you guys today. BJJ Strength Secrets, episode 36. I haven't forgotten about you. I'm still working on a program for you guys to try out. It's taking a while because I want to make sure it's really sweet for you guys to try out. It's going to have a little bit of everything mixed in of what we talked about. Okay, so as soon as it's done, I promise I will make sure I let all of you guys know. But in the meantime, I did put a free program together on my website. Go to hardstylekettlebell.com. It's called Kettlebell Workout Snacks. And what it is, it's 8 of my favorite 10 to 15 minute single and double kettlebell workouts that I've put together over the last 10 plus years. These are some of my favorite ones, whether it's single bell or double kettlebell. And again, they're short, they're quick, 10 to 15 minutes. Go to hardstylekettlebell.com and you can get your free copy today. But as soon as the program is ready for BJJ, I'll make sure I send that out to you guys, or I'll put it in the link here below. So that's all I got. Remember, 3 rules of strength training for BJJ and strength training in general is move well first. Make sure that you move really well. After you move really well and you've been practicing, now you can focus on moving strong, which means doing even more repetitions, even more of that body weight work, okay? Then once you move strong, now you can load that pattern with a weight, okay? And I prefer to use a kettlebell because it's the best, most effective training tool in the world, and you can't argue it. Once you get moving, once you start to get competent and moving strong there, now look to move even stronger. Okay, that's all I got for you guys today. We're signing out. Bye, guys.